welcome back to some more Sims 4 Create a Sim D&D edition, where I take my D&D characters that I have came up with, drawn out, and made stories for and stuff, and try to recreate them into the Sims. So today is actually one of my favorite characters that I've created over time. And technically, as time goes on, I've connected this character's story to a few other characters quite a bit. So this character has quite a bit more sort of like development or backstory, I guess, than some of the others, but it's just because I ended up really liking her, and part of me is annoyed that I like her as much as I did, because I have grown up in greenhouses all my life, so some degree I have this love-hate relationship with plants, and this is a plant person, basically. She represents one of the things that sort of has annoyed me throughout my life, but she's one of my favorite characters of all my D&D characters, so, oh well, sometimes it happens that way. By now you should be seeing the picture so you could see, the picture that I drew so you could see, how she is in all of her lovely plant form. She has different plants throughout her, representing on her, so, I used a few different plants. One of them I'm forgetting the name of right now, that's, the long pieces of, hair. I say that with quotations. It's it starts with a C, but for some reason I cannot think of it right now. But she's also got leaves as some short hair. She's got cactuses for buns, along with blooms at the base of those cactuses. Her bottom of her legs are actually wood, and she has moss growing on her. The skirt thing that she has on the side pieces are sort of meant to be shield pieces, but they are designed after a purple passion plant, which also has other names, which I'm forgetting right now. Oddly enough, purple passions technically can break pretty easily, but they make this really loud sound when they do break. But for the sake of D&D world and Forsythia, these actually are stronger because they're a little bit bigger than what the actual plant is, so when it comes to her, so yeah. And did I actually say her name? I think I just said her name, but I don't think I formally introduced her name. I don't know. Anyway, it's Forsythia. And then the middle plant that's sort of in between to fully fill the skirt, that's supposed to be a colas leaf. I have vines on her, and on the one side she actually has a thorn, and technically there's a rose up on her shoulder where the thorns lead to, and that can retract and she could use it as a weapon, or it could just be sort of chilling out on her arm. But I had so much fun creating this character, and it actually took a really long time to draw her out. So I was ultimately proud of the drawing and proud of the character in the end, because it took quite a bit of time to try to get the look that I was sort of going for. As far as Sims, obviously I am limited a little bit. You can't make a Sim permanently a plant Sim, otherwise I would do that for her, just so that she does have the fact that she needs water and sunlight and stuff like that. I would definitely do that if I possibly could, but they only stay plant Sims for I don't even remember how long, because to me it's sort of sad that the plant Sim isn't something that you can have as a permanent thing, so therefore I personally don't even fool with it too much. So I think it's only it's a 24 or 48 hour thing. At max 72 hours, I believe. It really doesn't last very long. It definitely doesn't last a full Sim week. There's almost not a point of trying to have a plant Sim. There might be a mod out there somewhere that can allow for permanent plant Sims. I haven't actually searched that. Maybe that's something I should search into, and I can turn her into a plant Sim if there is that mod out there for when I put her into the household. Maybe I'll look into that beforehand. I'll try to remember. But yeah, anyway. So we are making a lovely plant lady here. As a refresher for this series, I am eventually putting all these characters into one whole household, thanks to MCC allowing for multiple Sims in one household. I'm sure my computer and my game will love me for this little mini-series, but it is going to be a mini-series where I just basically, I'm going to treat it almost like you would treat a reality show. We're just going to be mostly, for the most part, watching. I will have limited, control over the Sims. When it comes to certain situations where I feel the need that I need to do something real quick, no one's for some reason autonomously making food, or no one's feeding the cat, or something along those lines. If I feel the need, I will every once in a while take control of them, or like I actually am going to be rolling dice for them every like Sims day. I probably will cut that part out because that'd be a lot of rolling dice, but I'll mention the numbers that they got. I'll write them down on a piece of paper and be like, blah blah blah, I rolled a 5, so they only get access to this many rooms. But yeah, so I need to control them to make them go back to a certain spot or get them out of a certain room. That's another thing I'll do, because according to the number they roll, depends on which rooms they get access to. If they roll a 1, they're stuck in their room all day. Hope you're okay with the rooms I designed for you if you roll a 1. But anyway, ultimately they're going to be placed into this household, so yeah. Well, Forsythia will be one of the lovely, lovely creatures into the household. So, with Forsythia's backstory, so Forsythia actually used to be a very powerful being. She actually is like the daughter of Mother Nature, is my simplest form. But obviously, depending on who the DM is and what the story of that world is, Mother Nature may not be called Mother Nature in that world, and it might be slightly altered or slightly different or whatever. But the equivalent to Mother Nature is like her mother. She has been created and formed thanks to lovely Mother Nature. And basically, like, I forget, is it a demigod or a semi-god? Whatever. Anyway, technically she is like a deity in a way, but her powers all come, like her powers, abilities, whatever, they all come from Mother Nature and thanks to Mother Nature. And basically, like, even though she is a full-on adult and has been around for a long time, the lifespan for, like, her obviously would be a little bit different than the lifespan of someone, like, that was just a normal human being, or even, like, for some reason, a normal plant sim. So, yeah. Anyway, or plant person. But yeah, she's a little bit different. But eventually she goes through this phase where, like, she feels like everyone equates her back to her mother all the time, and, like, you wouldn't be anything without her or whatever. And Forsythia sort of goes on this little rebellious streak where she, like, complains and is sort of irritated by all that, and is like, I could be just as strong on my own and all this stuff, and, like, starts having basically almost like a teenage scuffle with her mother, basically, even though she's not a teenager. Maybe for her lifespan, maybe she's hitting into what would be those teen years, but she's been around for a while at this point. But yeah, so she's having a little rebellious streak, and eventually Mother Nature, or whatever the equivalent would be in the world that she is set in, would basically is like, oh, so you think you can do just fine on your own, and basically takes all of her abilities away. He's like, you'll have to work your way back up now. See how well you could actually do it. And I think in some ways the way I would see it is like Mother Nature knows that Forsythia probably could be just fine on her own, and she actually could grow herself and become naturally strong on her own. She acts this way to almost motivate Forsythia even more to actually try to do good and try to actually better herself, so that she doesn't get too wrapped up into like, I'm awesome, I have these powers, and, you know, I'm related to Mother Nature, blah, 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 you can't do anything to me, I'm better. Like, not to have that mindset, and if she earns these things on her own and stuff like that, she'll sort of have a better mindset of things and stuff like that, if you get what I'm saying. Forsythia, basically, I imagine her at one point, you know, she was, like, this head of, like, this sort of group, this almost like an army type thing, that she protected, like, one particular forest, and, you know, she would go out if there was ever any other forces that was at least somewhat close by and that were in trouble, she would actually go out there and stuff like that. So I see her as this very powerful figure, and very strong, very capable, but now she's been taken back to level 1, and she is growing on her own, trying to make the best of it, and she uses this opportunity to also sort of explore and get to know more about the outside world outside of just all these forests that she inhabits and stays in and stuff like that. Let me actually go out into the world and meet other groups of people and other races and, like, see other things while she's doing that. She is connected to previous characters that I have made. They end up forming, like, a group when they run into each other, and those two other people are Serena, Lady of the Heart, and also Minka, my little lovely slam girl. So them plus 2 other ones, so those 3, and then 2 other ones that will be coming on a little bit later in the series. Well, not much later. I think one of them Actually, no, both of them are immediately after Forsythia, so never mind, not too much later. Looking at the order. Sometimes I forget the order that I created these characters in. Anyway, the next two are actually finish off that group, because it's a group of 5, and they are very unique individuals. I mean, so far we have a slime girl, we have a cursed dragon, and a plant lady that used to be almost deity-like. So, yeah, it's quite an interesting group. The two that are also going to be joining also are more like not your typical people either, so it's definitely a very interesting group of ladies. They are all female. They all sort of were in the mindset of trying to explore and see different things, because they didn't really, like, Minka obviously stayed in her cave for the most part. Serena used to see things mainly from the point of view of a dragon. Now she's seeing things from the point of view of, like, more like a human. So, and now Forsythia is going out of the nature, like, out of the forest, like she's used to and stuff like that, and actually going and seeing, like, cities and other places and stuff like that. But I also have another group of characters. They won't be in this series because they are characters that I made later on, but they were, like, her 4 assistants or so in a way. Like, they played different roles, but they were with her inside the forest, so when she left, she's like, you all can stay here in the forest and do what you want, but also feel free to also maybe go out and explore, find your own new path or something like that. I made those characters as well, so there's quite a few characters that end up getting attached, like, connected to Forsythia as time goes on, but honestly, I really love Forsythia. She literally is one of my favorite ones, and, like, I just imagine that at times she has, like, this really nice persona, like, this really nice, just lovely, out in nature sort of feel, but also, she has protected different forests and led, like, an army, and basically, when she's needed to and stuff like that, she knows how to be commanding, she knows how to lead, so she's got this very commanding presence. Like, you would notice Forsythia, like, she's someone who would catch your eye, even if she wasn't a plant person. Like, just her personality, you put her personality and how she is in, like, a normal human-looking, like, character, she's one of those people I imagine you would still notice her just because of her personality alone. So yeah. Now, before we get on to the Sims-related stuff that will affect her in the household, I'm going to mention a little bit more of the D&D stuff. She is actually a paladin, and she is the Oath of the Ancient subclass paladin. She's a full-on paladin. She's not, like, multi-class or anything like that. And as, like, obviously her race, she's a plant person. I put plantine, I think is how it said. But she was technically made and created from and by Mother Nature, or whatever the equivalent for that particular story would be. She definitely is a higher order of a plant race, a plant people. But yeah, that is, like, her whole thing. She actually is, like, around 5'8", so she's close-ish to 6 foot. But part of me really wants to imagine, especially since, like, the bottom of her feet are actually supposed to be, like, trees and stuff like that. If she really wanted to, she probably could, like, just sort of grow a little bit, like, plant-wise, and make herself look taller if she needed to. But, you know, 5'8" is, like, her preferred height. Still taller than me, so, yep. As far as Sims World Forsythia here, obviously, I tried to get as close to her as possible, but there's limitations, especially when it comes to plants. I gave her the greenish skin. I put on, like, that mossy-looking, like, stuff. I was glad that I had, it's like a mossy ivy-like thing, and it's in skin details. I was glad that I had that to sort of represent, like, the moss on her. I did give her hair that had buns, and I thought those buns looked really cute on her, and I just really like those ones, and they had more of the shape I was going to. I wish the buns were just the same shape, but just slightly larger, but that's fine. It's okay. I did give her 2 pieces of hair strands in the front to try to represent those front pieces the drawing has. Obviously, those are actually flowering vines, and I don't have that option. I don't have hair that represents plants in any sort of way, but I do also have, I think it was also in Skin Details, it's like these little floating leaves, and technically, I was a little annoyed with them at first, because technically they, like, flash, like, they're green, and then every once in a while they flash, like, this pinkish color, but then I started thinking, I was like, even if Mother Nature, aka Mommy Dearest, in this situation, took all of her powers, I still feel like this is her child, and she still would want to keep tabs on her and make sure that she is okay and stuff. Like, I'm letting you grow on your own and do things on your own, but I still want to make sure things are, like, you know, not super dire. So part of me thinks, like, with the flashing leaves for Sims lore, could just be a thing that, you know, it's because there's still an essence of Mother Nature following her around. There's still a magical essence there, even if it's not coming from Forsythia herself and her powers and abilities. It's Mother Nature's powers and abilities. Now, luckily, I did have some clothing that had, like, a lot of flowers and stuff on them. They're meant to be, like, sort of, like, fairy-like things. I did get the outfit I use is actually, it does go together, but I purposely didn't make the top and the skirt the same color. Now, I did test the color to see if I'd like it that way, but technically I was like, nah, it's just too much, and it's starting to look a little bit more like a dress, and technically Forsythia isn't wearing a dress, even though her, like, skirt plant-like thing comes up pretty high and almost touches where her top is. It's still not fully touching, and then on top of that, her top, for the most part, is just vines and, like, twigs twisted together with, like, 2 flowers coming up over to cover her lady part. So, yeah, there isn't really much going on there, so I purposely tried to choose a color in the top that had a little bit more green in it than not, so I didn't want the bright purple to be on the bottom and the top. But luckily, the skirt did come in purple, and a purple passion, obviously, is purple, so that goes with it. And also there's a lot of coluses, because there's also a colus in the skirt. A lot of coluses have, like, purple and pink tones to them. I love coluses for that reason. They do have flowers, but they're not really known much for their flowers, even though a lot of times they sprout a lot of flowers. It's like this weird stem. It looks almost like a butterfly bush, but like flower, but more spread out, more like you stretched the butterfly bush's flower. They also do come in purples and stuff though too, and that's why I like them. They're not just green. Like, I like plants to have color, but green is obviously the main color, which makes sense, but coluses are one of the plants that don't fully fit that norm. There's a lot of them that have almost no green on them at all, and so it sort of worked out. I got as close as possible as I could. I'm really happy with how she turned out. I hope you all like how she turned out as well. Now, with traits and stuff like that, I made her a freelance botanist because it was, like, one of the main things, like, one of the main aspirations. I had to deal with plants and stuff like that. Made sense. Gotta be with plants. I also am, hopefully, because, you know, I'm trying to do the 5 traits thing whenever I move them into the household. So, loves outdoor, green fiend, ambitious, self-assured, and recycle disciple is hopefully going to be her 5 traits. I did pick which 3 I would mainly want if I couldn't get that mod to work at the time of recording the little mini-series. And those would be self-assured, green fiend, and loves outdoors. Loves outdoors and green fiend is pretty obvious. She's a plant person. Obviously, she would like being outside. She likes plants. She likes making sure that plants and stuff are healthy and all that stuff. And self-assured because she really, truly believes that she can do this on her own. She is very gung-ho about it, or however you say that. And ambitious sort of falls under that same route when it comes to the other 2 that I will hopefully be adding on. And recycle disciple, because recycling and, like, reusing, like, trying to reuse stuff instead of cutting down newer trees or whatever. Like, she's trying to prevent cutting trees down and, like, ruining plant life as much as she can, but in some degrees she does have an understanding when it comes to other people and stuff like that. They need these things to be the way they are. So, you know, she's like, I understand y'all need to do what y'all need to do, and some things just, you know, happen like that, but I'm gonna recycle to try to cut down as much waste, as much, like, hurting of plants as possible. So yeah, hopefully I get all 5 of those traits in. I have also given her likes and dislikes. Gardening obviously is one of her likes. That's just an obvious, that's a go-to for her. But yeah, you'll see some of her likes and dislikes as time goes on in the little mini-series. I hope that you love Forsythia, or at least like her in some ways. Let me know your thoughts of Forsythia down in the comments below. Who is your favorite character so far? Who are you most seeing into the little mini-series? And maybe those are different characters, so I definitely would love to hear from you down in the comments below. You may like one, like the look-wise and like the story, but you might be interested to seeing one particular one in the house because you know they're probably going to cause chaos. So, understand. I get that. Thank you so much for watching this episode. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you're liking the series. There's a link down in the description below, as well at the end of the video, for the playlist if you have missed any of the characters. We're like getting in the 20s now, I think, of characters. So we're definitely halfway through the characters, or we're like right on half. We're like right close to half somewhere. But yeah, so thank you so much for watching. Hopefully I'll see you in the next one, but until then, have